I've been single since birth for 2.5 years. Mom suspects that I might be into guys. She forcefully shoves a beautiful girl into my room. I look at her stunning face. Hey, maybe this isn't such a bad thing after all. She says she's the daughter of my distant relative, Uncle Liu. Just finished her college entrance exams. Got accepted into our city's Polytechnic University. Wants to get familiar with the city over the summer break. It just so happens that I bought a small two-bedroom apartment in the city this year. Mom took it upon herself. She said this cousin will stay with me for a month. She told me, as the older cousin, I should host her well. Show her around and take her places. I really need to thank my dear mother. Sensing that I might be unhappy, Mom softly said that she had already promised Uncle Liu. If I didn't agree to let my cousin stay, it's fine. At worst, Mom would move in herself. She would personally take care of my meals and daily needs. So I let my cousin come instead. I almost knelt down in surrender. After hanging up the phone, I let out a deep sigh. This past half year has been one disaster after another. The girlfriend I pursued for 5 long years. We were together for just 6 months before she ran off with some rich guy. I've been putting up a brave front every day. At least when I get home at night, I have a small personal space to heal. Now, there's going to be a stranger moving in. They say she's my cousin, but in reality, she's just the daughter of my mom's friend. I only saw her once when we were kids. I don't even know what she looks like now. Is she round? Is she square? I have no idea. I opened the door, feeling utterly defeated. As soon as I looked up, I was nearly scared to death. There stood a woman, drenched from head to toe, at my bedroom door. She stared at me blankly, expressionless. At this moment, my normal reaction should have been to yell at her. To demand, "Who the hell are you?" But honestly, I was completely stunned at first. Because this woman was just a beautiful, pale skin, stunning face, and long legs. She could easily outshine any celebrity. In real life, I had never seen a woman this gorgeous. She was wearing an oversized t-shirt that barely covered her thighs. And those long legs were both straight and flawless. It looked like she had just taken a shower. Her whole body was wet. Droplets of water trickled down her hair, clinging to her body, subtly outlining her curves. I almost had a nosebleed on the spot. I stood there staring like an idiot for a good minute. Then I finally remembered to ask, "Who are you?" She gave a small shiver, looking even more pitiful. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt. Did I speak too harshly and scare her? Was that why she looked so frightened? "Liu, are you Yan?" she stammered softly. "Are you Yan?" I suddenly realized. "You're Uncle Liu's daughter, right? You came so fast. I just hung up the phone. Did she teleport here or what? How did you get in?" Right after asking, it dawned on me. My mom must have given you the door code, right? She still stood there, soaking wet, fluttering her long eyelashes, staring blankly at me without a word. Her gaze didn't waver for a second. I scratched my head awkwardly. "Well, you can take this room," I said, opening the door to the guest room. When I turned back, I noticed she didn't have any luggage. Puzzled, I asked, "Where are your things? Did you come empty-handed?" Man, she really was making herself at home. And the longer I looked at her, the more I noticed her outfit. The more I looked, the more familiar it seemed. Wait, isn't that my shirt she's wearing? What's up with this girl? My mom said cousin Liu was a top student, sought after by prestigious schools. But she didn't exactly look like the sharpest tool in the shed right now. Suddenly, it clicked. "Did you lose your luggage?" I asked. "First time going out on your own, got scammed?" Her eyes lit up, and she nodded vigorously. Well, I guess even geniuses can't handle the complexity of the real world. Alright, I'll take you out later to buy a couple of new outfits. For now, just take a rest. I watched as she went into the room. I went back to my room and lay down too, staring blankly at the ceiling. I had just opened my phone when I saw my ex-girlfriend's new social media post. Thanks, my love, for the gift. He's taking me to see even more of the world. The picture was of them standing in front of a brand new sports car, kissing as if no one else existed. I closed the app and threw my phone aside. I had chased Chu Yue for 5 years. Loved her for 5 years. When she finally agreed to be my girlfriend, I was so happy I could hardly contain myself. I treated her with the utmost care, afraid she might feel the slightest bit of unhappiness. But how could she leave me so easily? What did Yang Wei, that notorious playboy, give her? A few gifts I might never be able to afford. And she left without looking back. I didn't even know when they had gotten involved. I didn't even know if she ever really liked me. And now, what hurts me the most, what I'm worrying about the most, is that I'm still afraid she'd be tricked by Yang Wei. Afraid she'd get hurt. How pathetic of me. I wiped the tears from my eyes. Bitterness welled up inside me. Just as I was about to sink deeper into my sorrow, I was interrupted by some rustling sounds outside. I sighed. What's that silly girl up to now? I got up and went out. I saw Yuyan standing in front of my fish tank, holding a bag of fish food, raising it up. I was about to say, the fish have already been fed today. No need to feed them again. But before I could, I saw her suddenly tilt her head back and pour the entire bag of fish food into her mouth. Oh my god! What are you doing? I yelled, rushing over and grabbing the bag from her hands. She was startled, taking a step back. She looked at me timidly. I'm hungry, she said softly. Brother Su Yi, she added. No way! Not fish food. She called me brother again, which made my heart skip a beat for a brief moment. But no matter how hungry you are, you can't eat that. What if you get sick? Alright, forget it. I'll take you out to eat. I sighed. I took her shopping first, buying a few outfits. When she came out of the dressing room, the shop assistants were stunned. Their usual compliments suddenly seemed genuine. She looks absolutely stunning. Standing next to you, she looks perfect. I looked at the two of us in the mirror. She was only half a head shorter than me. And I wasn't exactly tall. Just 181 centimeters. So she must have been at least 175 centimeters. And those legs unbelievably long. Are these even human legs? I paid the bill and took her out of the store. On the way to the restaurant, in just a few minutes, a talent agency approached, asking if she was interested in becoming an artist. I turned my head to look at her. There she was, pressed up against the window, staring at the spicy hot pot on someone else's table inside. She was about to charge straight into the glass. I quickly pulled her back. You want to eat that, huh? It's fine, I said. We'll go in and eat. Just don't run into the glass. Is she really a top student? Do all geniuses have a few screws loose? When the hot pot arrived at our table, her eyes lit up. Before I could grab my chopsticks, she plunged her hand straight into the pot, and then immediately screamed, yanking her hand out in pain, her face scrunched up in agony. I was startled and rushed to check her hand. Are you stupid? I said. Don't you know it's hot? Thankfully, it was only a bit red. I took her to the sink to cool it under cold water, then handed her a pair of chopsticks. She looked at me curiously. No way, does she not even know how to use chopsticks? Is this the classic case of high IQ, low EQ? I had only heard stories about geniuses before, like that one valedictorian who went to a prestigious school and didn't know how to eat a boiled egg with the shell on, because at home, the eggs were always peeled for him. Well, I guess I finally met one of these oddballs in person today. Speechless, I picked up my chopsticks and showed her how to eat. She imitated me, wrapping her chopsticks around a bunch of noodles. Then, with a strong tug, I watched as the noodles, coated in red chili oil and sesame sauce, flew straight toward the burly man at the next table. With a splat, they landed squarely on his head. The air froze for 2 seconds. The man calmly peeled the noodles off his head, then stood up and started walking toward us. The murderous aura was heading straight toward us. I wondered how I could apologize enough to prevent this guy from killing us. He had already stopped at our table. "Are you out of your mind?" he growled. "Do you have WeChat?" I was stunned. I looked up to see our Yuyan smiling sweetly at him, her face tilted up. The man stared blankly at our Yuyan, the anger on his face visibly freezing in place. The corners of his mouth began to twitch upward uncontrollably. He scratched his head. "Hey, gorgeous, wanna add me on WeChat?" The shift in atmosphere was so sudden, I couldn't help but twitch at the corners of my mouth. I forced a smile, saying she's still a kid, no phone, no WeChat. Then I quickly pulled her away. As we left, I bought her a burger and a Coke. We sat down on a nearby bench. She took a bite of the burger. Her eyes widened in amazement, a look of pure bliss spreading across her face. She swayed with joy, as if experiencing the most delicious thing ever. I shook my head at the sight. How strict must Uncle Liu's household be to be so thrilled by a simple burger? But as I kept watching her, I couldn't help but laugh along with her. Is it really that good? Are you really this easy to please? You're surprisingly low maintenance. Once she finished eating, I took her to the supermarket to buy some essentials. When we got back home and set everything down, I noticed a puddle of water in front of the fish tank. Feeling curious, I went over to check the tank. One kept dozens of ornamental fish. All of them loved swimming around in groups. But one fish, the most beautiful little pink one, had just been added recently. She always lagged behind, never fitting in with the others, like she was the little odd one out of the group. So I made sure to pay extra attention to that little fish, worried it would get bullied. But now I couldn't seem to find it. "Have you seen a little pink fish around?" I asked our Yuyan. She came closer, her eyes looking a bit guilty. "I saw it earlier. It might be hiding under the plants." Her soft voice brushed against my ear. Instinctively, I turned to look at her, not realizing how close she was. The sudden turn brought me dangerously close to her lips. I nearly brushed past them. My heart skipped a beat. Before my mind could spiral out of control, I quickly stood up straight, taking 2 steps back. Noticing my reaction, her eyes gradually dimmed. She lowered her gaze, her expression showing a hint of sadness and vulnerability. I scratched my head, not knowing what to say to ease the awkwardness. "Alright, I've got a work gathering tonight. I need to go out for a while. Don't wander off while I'm gone, alright?" She nodded obediently. "Brother Sue, I'll wait for you to come back." Her words made my heart race again. As I headed downstairs, my mind was a whirl of thoughts. This girl doesn't seem all that sharp. Is it okay to leave her alone at home? Can she even take care of herself? She clearly doesn't know how to cook. What's she going to eat for dinner? Feeling conflicted, I couldn't help but glance up at my apartment window. From the 5th-floor windowsill, I saw her small, lonely figure, quietly watching me leave. In that moment, my heart melted into a puddle. I turned back, ready to go back upstairs. Seeing me turn back, she quickly jumped down from the windowsill. Barefoot, she ran to the hallway to meet me. "Let's go," I said. "I'll take you with me." She froze for a moment, her eyes filled with surprise and delight. A big smile blossomed on her face, and she ran over, giving me a quick hug, pulling me along as if ready to leave right away. I knocked gently on her head. "Put on your shoes first." On the way to the restaurant, I got a message from one of my buddies. "Yongwei's here too. Sitting at another table. Want me to set you up with a girl to show off a bit?" "Nah, forget it, never mind," I replied. I really don't know anyone prettier than Chuyue. By the time we arrived at the restaurant, our Yuyan said she needed to use the restroom. I pointed her in the right direction. She took a couple of steps in, and I went to find my group. As I sat down, someone immediately started laughing. "Oh, Sui's here. I thought you'd be too heartbroken to show your face around here. I recognized the guy Dong Haiyang, one of the jerks from the neighboring department, a lackey of Yang Wei. Yang Wei, the son of the company's owner, had recently parachuted in as our new general manager, bringing this sycophant along with him. Dong got a cushy job in the neighboring department, though he had zero talent. All he did was bark orders at others all day. While everyone despised him, we didn't dare cross him either. After all, it was tricky dealing with someone with such backing. It was thanks to him that Xu Yuwei even got to know Yang Wei. Without his meddling, none of this would have happened. Yang Wei, I ignored his comment, but Dong Haiyang didn't like being ignored. His face twitched with frustration, and he started mocking me again. Hey, do you guys remember when Xu Yuwei left? He was running after the car, crying the whole time. Dong stood up, mimicking me chasing the car. Oh, Yuwei, how can I live without you? After that, he burst into uncontrollable laughter. Lu Jian couldn't take it anymore. Alright, that's enough. Can't take a joke, can you? Dong replied, dripping with sarcasm. His mocking tone was making the whole atmosphere icy. But just then, a soft voice called from behind me. Brother Su Yi. The voice was sweet and gentle, with a hint of comfort. Everyone turned their heads to look, and instantly, they all wore the same dumbfounded expression, just like the guy who got hit by noodles earlier. Yuyan ignored everyone else. She sat down beside me, her eyes misty with tears, looking both pitiful and aggrieved. Brother Su Yi, I couldn't find you earlier. I thought you didn't want me anymore. As she walked in, she had already captured the attention of every man in the room. When she said those words, I could feel countless metaphorical daggers stabbing into me. Their gazes seemed to carry a message, like they were all asking, who is this jerk who stole our goddess? Damn, this skinny guy? How did he get her? Lu Jian was the first to snap out of it, grabbing my arm. Where did you find her? I introduced our Yuyan. She's the daughter of a relative, just graduated at 18. Got accepted into the Polytechnic University. She's a top student. 18, Lu Jian looked at me. Old Su, you beast. The men were practically fawning over our Yuyan. Dong Haiyang yelled to the waiter outside, bring more tableware. Our Yuyan suddenly turned to look at him. It's impolite to yell like that, our Yuyan said calmly. If you just raise your hand, the waiter will see you. That's what I had taught her earlier during lunch. Looks like she picked it up quickly and is already putting it into practice. Seeing Dong Haiyang not moving, she pressed again. Are you going to raise your hand? The guy sitting across from Dong couldn't hold it in and spit out his drink in laughter. Dong Haiyang looked a bit irritated, but after taking a couple more sips of his drink, he forced a greasy smile. Leaning in, he asked, so, little sister, what kind of guys do you like? Our Yuyan looked him over carefully and seriously replied, I didn't know what kind of guy I liked before, but after seeing you today, I figured it out. You, she paused. You're definitely not the type. The whole table burst into laughter again. Dong Haiyang's excited expression froze halfway. Awkwardly, he went back to drinking. After being embarrassed twice in a row, everyone secretly enjoyed his humiliation. Lu Jian tugged on my sleeve, whispering, this girl's something else, man. Really something. Her looks and figure are unbeatable. She's 100 times prettier than Xu Yuwei. Her eyes are all on you. Dude, you seriously lucked out. His tone was filled with envy. I quickly added, our Yuyan isn't my girlfriend. Don't go spreading nonsense. I don't want Xu Yuwei getting the wrong idea. Lu Jian gave me a look of utter disbelief. Look at you, what a waste. As he spoke, Dong Haiyang's girlfriend returned from the restroom. Our Yuyan noticed her and suddenly said, oh, I saw you in the restroom earlier. You were with that guy. She pointed at Yang Wei, who had just returned to his seat at the neighboring table. Weren't you two doing something weird earlier? Our Yuyan asked innocently. She puckered her lips in a mimicking gesture. The entire room fell silent. Yang Wei, with his wealth and notorious reputation for playing around, always had people around him. Many had already suspected something fishy between the two of them, but no one had ever called it out. Everyone just chose to stay quiet, but now it was all laid bare for everyone to see. Dong Haiyang's face turned ashen. He couldn't hold his composure anymore. He slammed the table and stood up angrily. What the hell were you doing just now? His girlfriend panicked. No, I wasn't, Before she could finish her sentence, Dong Haiyang had already yanked her out of the room roughly. Her wailing echoed down the hall. The entire place erupted into chaos, everyone gossiping like crazy. I knew there was something going on between them. Same here, they never seemed right to me. Lu Jian, curious, asked, "Are you Yan?" "Hey sis, were they really doing something shady in the restaurant?" "Are you Yan?" nodded. Then suddenly picked up a cigarette someone left on the table, pulled one out, puckered her lips and pretended to smoke it. "They were just doing this, smoking," she said. Lu Jian laughed so hard he slapped his thigh. "Sis, you're something else. You've never seen someone smoke before?" He added with a chuckle, "You wouldn't happen to be from another time, would you?" "Are you?" Yan's eyes widened. "How did you know?" she asked earnestly. Lu Jian nearly laughed himself to death. "Where did you time travel from?" Without missing a beat, Are You Yan answered seriously. "I came from the Pacific Ocean." Seeing the scene spiraling out of control, I quickly grabbed Are You Yan and slipped out of there. I knew this bunch couldn't keep their mouths shut, but I didn't expect news of my new girlfriend to reach Chu Yue's ears so fast. As we were walking back into the neighborhood, a stray cat suddenly jumped out from the bushes and dashed toward our feet. Are You Yan's face turned pale. She let out a startled scream and jumped onto me. Instinctively, I reached out to support her. "It's just a cat." "Are you scared of cats?" I asked, amused. She nodded repeatedly, clinging to me, trying to hide in my arms. I carried her a few steps forward, and soon I started feeling uneasy. I looked around. The cat seemed to be gone. "Do you want to get down?" I asked. She quickly shook her head. "No, I'm scared," she said. "What's so scary about a cat? It's not going to eat you." She buried her head deeper into my neck. "It might eat me," she murmured. Her warm breath grazed my neck, sending shivers down my spine. I could barely hear what she said. My mind was completely preoccupied with one thought. Why does she feel so soft? Why is my heart racing like this? I quickly stopped my wild thoughts. "Suyi, be a decent person," I told myself. "This is your cousin." But then another thought sneaked in unexpectedly. "We're not even related by blood." I shook my head, trying to dispel it. No, absolutely. If I even think about touching my cousin, my mom would twist my head off, carrying her awkwardly like this. I walked all the way back to the apartment. She finally got down from my arms once we were inside. After a long day of chaos, I told her to go wash up and get some rest, but I never expected her to take so long. Hearing the sounds from the bathroom, I started to wonder if she was scrubbing the entire bathtub down. Was she a fish in her past life? Why does she love being in water so much? I was nearly falling asleep by the time she finally came out. She didn't even bother drying her hair with a towel. Water droplets just kept dripping down, exactly like the first time I saw her. It was the same scene all over again. I grabbed a towel and helped her dry her hair. Then I handed her the hair dryer. She looked at the hair dryer, then looked at me, completely confused. I shook my head, laughing. "Let me help you. How did you even grow up like this?" The warm air from the dryer blew through her hair. My fingers gently combed through the strands, touching and parting them. My heartbeat started to lose control. She stood right in front of me, so close. I could almost feel her heartbeat and breathing. She tilted her head up, looking at me. Her eyes filled with warmth and a sweet smile, so pure, like a flower blooming in the spring, with no trace of ulterior motives. Just pure joy? Her cheeks were flushed red. I couldn't tell if it was from the steam or from shyness. She looked so adorable. My mouth was dry, and as the hum of dryer filled the room, the temperature kept rising. I felt like I was about to lose my mind, just when my phone suddenly rang. The sharp ringtone snapped me back to reality. I quickly turned off the hairdryer, took a deep breath, and looked at my phone. It was Chuyue. After she broke up with me, no matter how much I begged or pleaded, she never contacted me again. But now, out of the blue, she was calling me. My heart jumped into my throat. I quickly answered the call. Her voice came through, cold as ice. Suyi, you've got some nerve. Acting like you were all heartbroken before, huh? You acted like you couldn't forget about me, that you were so hung up on me. Made everyone think I was the bad one. But turns out, you moved on with a new girl just like that, seamlessly. You're really smooth, huh? No, Yue, it's not what you think. Let me explain. Our Yan is just, at that moment, our Yan suddenly tugged at me. Brother Su, you're pulling on my hair. There was silence on the other end of the line for a few seconds. You're living together. Chu Yue's voice sounded like she was gritting her teeth. No, our Yan is just staying at my place for now. But then our Yan tilted her head toward me. Brother Su Yi, why did you stop? Keep going, she said innocently. The phone went dead silent again, and then Chu Yue angrily spat. Su Yi, you're calling me at a time like this? Disgusting. With that, she hung up. I stared blankly at the phone. But me, I muttered to myself. In the past, I would have rushed over to explain myself, panicking. But this time, I suddenly didn't feel like explaining anymore. Our Yuyan sat quietly beside me, waiting patiently. I put the phone down, picked up the hairdryer again. Her eyes sparkled with joy. Brother Su, let's continue, shall we? Her warm smile was so soothing, my heart felt oddly at peace. I suddenly realized, maybe everything that happened before could truly be let go. I took a vacation, decided to be the perfect host for her. Every day, we explored the city together, visiting various sites, or just stay home, lounging around and playing games. But what fascinated her most was all the different foods. No matter what I gave her to eat, she was always thrilled. She was always so amazed, so happy once she saw a kid holding a lollipop. And I swear, her mouth almost started watering. A single lollipop could make her dance with joy. As someone giving her these treats, seeing such a response, I just wanted to pile every delicious thing in the world in front of her. It turns out, being needed and appreciated can bring so much satisfaction and confidence. I couldn't deny it. These past few weeks were the most relaxed and stress-free I'd felt in the last 5 years. But vacations always come to an end. I had to go back to work. When she saw me off at the door, she stood there, head down, looking utterly dejected. Brother Su Yi, she pouted. Do you really have to go to work? I smiled. If I don't work, how will I buy you more treats? She puffed out her cheeks, unhappy. But I don't eat that much. Can't help but poke her cheek. Not much. You eat so much. If I don't start earning more, I won't be able to afford to feed you anymore. After saying that, even I was a bit stunned. It sounded way too intimate. Thankfully, she didn't read too much into it. She just muttered, then I'll eat a little less from now on. No need, I patted her head. See you later, I said, waving as I left. When I got to the office, I heard that Dong Haiyang had resigned. His scandal had spread throughout the company. If he had any shame, he'd know he couldn't stay here anymore. Getting rid of that problem. Suddenly, everyone at work started treating me much better. That was an unexpected bonus. However, I started to notice something. Since the day I returned to work, it seemed like I was finding it harder and harder to concentrate. First, I kept worrying if Yan had gone out by herself. She's so naive. What if she gets tricked by someone? Then I wondered if she had eaten anything. Does she even know how to use the stove? She wouldn't start playing with fire, would she? Or worse, had she drunk the water from the fish tank? I remember one night I took her out for a walk. While on the bus, she suddenly pointed out the window and yelled, "There's a ghost!" The whole bus was terrified. I took a glance, quickly explaining, "No, it's not a ghost. It's just the electric trolley lady statue." She hadn't finished her sentence, leaving this girl alone. I really couldn't stop worrying. She was always on my mind. By the time I thought of her for the 108th time that morning, I realized something was wrong with me. A phrase suddenly flashed through my mind. "Sui, you've fallen in love." At lunchtime in the cafeteria, I unexpectedly ran into Chuyue. Ever since she got together with Yongwei, she was promoted and transferred to the branch as a director. This was the first time I had seen her since our breakup. She noticed me too. I expected her to ignore me completely, but to my surprise, she walked over. "Company retreat this weekend. You know about it, right?" I nodded. "Are you bringing that little girlfriend of yours?" Her words made me uncomfortable. I frowned, seeing I didn't respond. She sneered, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "What's wrong? Couldn't rent another girl to keep up appearances?" With a disdainful glance, she brushed past me. I stood there, unable to say a word. I realized I no longer knew who I had been in love with all these years. The company retreat was arranged at a hot spring hotel. The hotel's facilities were top-notch, especially the swimming pool. When our Yuyan walked into the pool area in her swimsuit, even I was stunned. How could someone have such a perfect figure? Her skin looked flawless, and she seemed to be glowing. From the moment she appeared, Yang Wei's eyes never left her. A sense of danger surged in me. I kept her close by my side, blocking Yang Wei's gaze. But unexpectedly, he walked straight over. We met briefly at the last apartment gathering. "Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to speak with you," he said, smiling. "Hello, I'm Yang Wei." As he spoke, his eyes were glued to our Yu Yan. Not far away, Chuyue noticed and came over. She sized up our Yu Yan, her face darkening. Normally, Chuyue was quite the beauty herself. But standing next to our Yu Yan, her radiance was completely overshadowed. She couldn't hide her displeasure. She flicked her hair, and the sapphire ring on her finger caught the light, glittering brightly. Colleagues nearby immediately started complimenting it. "What a beautiful ring!" Chuyue gave a faint smile. "Yongwei gave it to me. I told him I didn't want it, but he insisted. But honestly, it's much better than some of the cheap gifts I've received from others." With that, she pulled a necklace from her handbag and casually tossed it into the pool. She tossed it into the pool like it was a piece of trash. I recognized it instantly. It was the necklace I had given her in the past. She was doing this on purpose. Trying to embarrass me, colleagues around her chimed in. "That must have cost a fortune. President Yang is so generous." Chuyue waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, don't say that. Yes, Yongwei's family has billions in assets, and they've invested in many projects, but he's very down-to-earth. He never talks about these things. He always says it's nothing special." As she said this, her eyes flickered toward our Yu Yan, as if she was showing off to her. Our Yu Yan blinked, looking utterly confused. "So, you're helping him say it then?" she asked innocently. I heard someone nearby stifle a laugh. Chuyue was left speechless, rolling her eyes in frustration. Yang Wei gave a slight sneer, then offered her a cold drink. "Here, have something to drink," he said, forcing a smile. Chuyue frowned. "You know I have a bad stomach. I can't drink anything cold," she snapped. Our Yuyan, overhearing this, sighed regretfully. "That's too bad. This drink is really good. Does that mean you can only eat soft rice?" she asked with genuine curiosity. Chuyue's face instantly darkened. "What did you just say?" Yang Wei quickly pulled her aside. "Hey, calm down. Why don't you go grab me a bottle of wine?" Come on, just go, he coaxed her as she stormed off. Once she was gone, Yang Wei turned back to Yan, smiling widely. This hotel's pool is really great, he said. Yan, do you know how to swim? Yan nodded eagerly. Want to have a little competition? Yang Wei suggested. I used to be the youngest member of the city's swim team. Even though I wasn't old enough, I was admitted because I was so fast. Yan nodded enthusiastically. Wow, impressive, impressive. Well, sure are small and fast, Yan quipped. Someone nearby spat out their drink, trying to hold in laughter. Yang Wei didn't seem to mind, since it's a competition. Let's make it more interesting with a bet. How about it? He asked, but I quickly held Yan back, shaking my head. Yan smiled at me reassuringly. Don't worry, brother Suyi, she said. I'm really good at swimming. But I couldn't trust her words completely, especially since Yang Wei really had been a competitive swimmer. Yang Wei, already setting the terms, said, all right, if I win, you have to come have a drink with me later. How's that? Yan smiled back, and if I win, I want the sapphire ring Chu Yue is wearing. A crowd had gathered by the pool to watch the race. I was shocked that Yang Wei agreed to her terms. I'll give you a 10-second head start, just so no one says I'm picking on a girl, he boasted. Yan smiled. No need for that. Just don't say I'm picking on you when you lose. As soon as the whistle blew, Yang Wei shot off like an arrow. His speed impressive, his strong strokes earning him admiration from the crowd. Everyone started to worrying for Yan, but suddenly a massive wave surged in Yan's lane, splashing everywhere, making it impossible to see what was happening. All anyone could make out was a shadow, moving at an incredible speed. The shadow overtook Yang Wei effortlessly, heading straight for the finish line. Yang Wei, realizing something was off, paused in disbelief before pushing himself even harder. But no matter how fast he swam, he couldn't even get close to that shadow in front. At 17 seconds, even the judge couldn't believe their stopwatch, wondering if it was broken from recording such a fast time. The world record for this is 46 seconds, someone exclaimed. Yan smiled sweetly, leaning against the pool edge. She waited for nearly half a minute before Yang Wei finally struggled out of the water. This race! She won it without a doubt. All the colleagues watching looked at Yang Wei, but no matter how much he wanted to deny it, there was no way to dispute the result. He had no choice but to ask Chu Yue to return the ring. Chu Yue's expression was as if she had swallowed a fly. Her face twisted with disgust. She yanked the ring off and angrily threw it at Yang Wei. She stormed off in a huff. Yan took the ring from Yang Wei, held it up to the light, inspected it, then shook her head. It looked nice at first, she said, but on closer inspection, it's really not that special. Without a moment's hesitation, she tossed the ring into the pool. Everyone gasped in shock. Amid the commotion, she suddenly extended her hand toward me, holding the necklace Chu Yue had thrown into the pool earlier. I like this one, she said, her voice soft but firm. Can you put it on for me? Her eyes were like clear water, reflecting my image back at me. In that moment, I realized something. She did all this just to help me regain my dignity. After the race, Yan went to change out of her swimsuit. I ordered a drink and sat at the bar waiting for her. When she came back, she muttered something about being thirsty, picked up the glass in front of me, and downed it in one gulp. Hey, that's alcohol, I shouted. I grabbed the glass to check. It was already empty. I looked up at her. Can you even drink alcohol? I asked, but before I could finish, she collapsed onto the bar. I rushed to catch her, but she was already disoriented, lifting a finger to her lips and whispering, "Shh, I can't drink alcohol. If I drink alcohol, my tail will come out," she murmured. I couldn't help but laugh. Your foxtail? No, silly, I'm a mermaid, not a fox. Of course, how could I forget? I teased. Ms. Mermaid. Then, Ms. Mermaid, How did you end up on land? Her words were slurring a bit as she continued. It was my first time leaving the sea. I accidentally got caught in a net, got hurt and passed out. So I transformed into a little fish. Then some shopkeeper bought me and kept me in a fish tank. And after that, I saw you. You brought me home. I shook my head, amused. And then I asked, playing along. And then after I recovered, I jumped out of the tank and returned to my true form. I can usually hide my tail, she said with a giggle. But if I drink alcohol, I can't. I chuckled, well, your tail hasn't appeared yet. It'll come out once I pass out. I couldn't help but laugh. This girl has quite the imagination. I was about to carry her back to the room when I realized I had left my phone by the pool. Are you Yan? Stay here and behave. I'm going to grab my phone. I made my way to the pool. Just as I reached it, I saw a message from my mom. It hit me I hadn't contacted her in a while. This must be what they mean when they say, out of sight, out of mind. I quickly video called her. Mom, about cousin Ru Yan, she's been. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Mom interrupted. Your Uncle Liu wasn't comfortable letting his daughter go out alone, so cousin Ru Yan didn't go after all. What? I was stunned. You must be thrilled about that, she added. I stood there in shock. If cousin Ru Yan didn't come, then who on earth has been with me this whole time? I quickly hung up the phone and sprinted back to the bar. But when I got there, Ru Yan was already gone. Panicked, I asked the bartender where she went. He hesitated for a while before finally telling me. Ru Yan left with a man? From his description, I knew immediately it was that scumbag Yang Wei. My anxiety shot through the roof. I couldn't even think about what her true identity might be anymore. All I knew was Yang Wei, that filthy bastard, had taken her, and it didn't take much to guess what he had in mind. I raced toward the guest rooms, my heart pounding so hard I could barely control my shaking. I rushed up to the 12th floor. I knew that was where Yang Wei's room was, but I didn't know the exact room number. So I started banging on every door, screaming for Yang Wei to come out. Suddenly, a door opened, and Chu Yue stood there, looking bewildered. What's wrong with you? Everyone's outside. There's no one in these rooms. I stormed past her, grabbing her by the collar. Where's Yang Wei? He took Ru Yan. Where did he go? If he dares lay a finger on her, I swear I'll kill him. She was startled by my red, furious eyes. Then, all at once, she realized what I was saying. Yang Wei, that scum. She shoved a key card into my hand. Room 1209. Her expression turned dark as she stormed ahead of me. I realized what it was, Yang Wei's room key. Without a second thought, I grabbed it and ran as fast as I could toward his room. Just as I rounded the corner, I heard a piercing scream that froze my blood. My heart skipped a beat. Then I saw the door too. Room 1209 burst open. Yang Wei stumbled out, his face pale as a sheet and reeking of alcohol. Yang Wei stumbled backward, shouting in terror, a monster. It's not human, it's a monster. I rushed forward, grabbing him by the collar, and landed a hard punch on his face. He seemed completely out of his mind, taking a few punches before frantically pushing me off. With his face swollen and bruised, he bolted for the exit. But as soon as he turned the corner, he ran straight into Chu Yue. She cursed at him, full of fury, pulling at him as he tried to escape. In his disoriented state, Yang Wei tripped and tumbled down the staircase. I couldn't care less about their commotion. My only concern was Ru Yan's safety. I burst into the room, but what I saw froze me in my tracks. In that moment, I understood why Yang Wei had nearly lost his mind. Because even I couldn't believe what I was seeing. There on the bed was Ru Yan, lying peacefully in her sleep. But from under the blanket, a shimmering fish tail extended, stretching nearly 2 meters long. Its tip draped over the edge of the bed, gently swaying unconsciously. I stood there, completely stunned, unable to see what I was seeing. Suddenly, her words echoed in my mind. I'm a fish. I can't drink alcohol. If I do, my tail will come out. I'm a mermaid. I was badly injured and almost died. You helped heal my wounds. Thank you for bringing me home. I collapsed into a chair, dazed. Everything she had said was true. I didn't know how long I sat there, tears streaming down my face. The noises outside faded from chaos to silence, and the sky outside went from dusk to dark, then back to dawn. In a daze, I felt someone gently touching my face. I opened my eyes, and there was reuniite crouching in front of me. I instinctively glanced down at her legs. The fish tail was gone. In its place were two perfectly human legs. She noticed my reaction. Her expression darkened. Brother Suyi, she whispered, I'm sorry. I rubbed my face, forcing myself to get up, avoiding her gaze. Let's go back home, I muttered. It wasn't that I wanted to be cold to her. I just didn't know how to face her anymore. I began working overtime, not coming home until after she'd fallen asleep. I heard that Yang Wei had been admitted to the hospital. He had hit his head, suffering from a concussion, and had some memory loss. He couldn't remember how he ended up in the guest room that night, or how he fell down the stairs. That news was a huge relief to me. The less he remembered about reuniite, the better. After work, I wandered aimlessly by the river, carrying a beer. I sat on a bridge, finishing the entire bottle. Below, a mother was walking by with her child. The little girl begged her mom to buy her some snacks from a street vendor, excitedly jumping up and down when she got them. Her joy reminded me of someone. A girl who could be happy for a whole day with just a lollipop. Memories rushed back, each one cutting into my heart like a knife. I suddenly realized I couldn't let her go. I threw the empty beer bottle away, jumped up, ready to run home. But then my phone rang. I glanced at the screen, and my heart instantly sank. I saw the message from reuniite. She said, Brother Suyi, go home, I've left. Thank you, goodbye. I panicked and ran home as fast as I could, like a madman. But when I arrived, the light that had always waited for me was turned off. The whole house was plunged into darkness. There was no sound of the door opening. No one running out to greet me with a smile. No more cheerful chatter surrounding me. The warmth and laughter were gone. All that remained was silence and emptiness. The girl whose eyes once held only me, I had lost her. I threw myself into work, and they started calling me the hardest worker in the department, but they didn't know. I was just trying to avoid going home to a cold, empty house. I wanted to find her. But when I looked around, I realized I had no idea where to start. She hadn't taken a single thing I had bought her. I thought maybe she had returned to the ocean, crossed the Pacific, back to the deep sea where she belonged. Maybe I would never have the chance to see her again. I threw myself into work so hard. I became a workaholic. By the end of the year, my performance review ranked first in the company. I was promoted to deputy director of my department. One weekend, while cleaning the fish tank, I suddenly spotted something shiny in the sand. Startled, I scooped it out and looked at it closely. It was a pink fish scale. I quickly looked up at the fish tank. Among the fish I raised, only that odd little pink fish was pink, and it hadn't been seen for a long time. Is it you? I whispered. I miss you so much. Please come back and see me, will you? I wanted to flip the entire fish tank upside down. The water soaked my sleeves, but still I couldn't find the little pink fish. Defeated, I downed another bottle of alcohol. These days, I can't sleep without drinking. My phone rang again, then stopped. I ignored it. All I wanted was to lie down in peace. Just as the phone stopped ringing, the doorbell rang. I forced myself up to open the door, a bit surprised at who stood there. It was Chuyue. She quickly steadied me. You've been drinking again. Can you stop ruining your body like this? Lately, she's been visiting me more often, and I can't figure out why. I broke up with Yang Wei, she said, biting her lip. Her voice trembled, like she had just made a tough decision. I was blind before. I didn't know who truly cared about me. Suyi, I regret it. Every single day, I regret leaving you. Will you give me another chance? Can we start over? The person I once gave my all to, now begging to come back into my life. But in my heart, there was no joy. Why is it that people only learn to cherish something after it's lost? She's like that. And so was I. I gently pushed her hand away, managing a faint smile. Kyuyue, we're over. I don't feel anything for you anymore. Saying goodbye aloud. It felt like closing the door on my past. There was sadness, yes, but more than anything, a sense of relief. Her expression froze. She stood there for a long moment, before finally murmuring a soft apology. As she turned and walked away, even her steps seemed unsteady. I closed the door, feeling a bit of moisture at the corner of my eyes. Leaning against the door, I stood there for a moment. The alcohol hit me hard. I stumbled over to the couch and lay down. Before long, I fell asleep. In my daze, it felt like water was dripping on my face. It was so real. I wiped my face with my hand, suddenly opening my eyes. Something wasn't right. My hand was actually wet. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my skin. A woman, looking like she had just taken a bath, was lying beside me, soaked. Droplets of water were falling from her. Just like the first time I met her. She was still wearing that oversized t-shirt of mine. What the hell? I must be dreaming. I started to doubt if I was hallucinating from the alcohol. But her smiling face was already inches from mine. Brother Suyi, you're awake, she said softly. My mind was blank for a moment. Then I grabbed her and pulled her into my arms, nearly crying from joy. You're back. Where have you been all this time? My hands touched her over and over, making sure she was really here. Brother, I never left. I was always with you, just where you couldn't see. I heard you say you missed me. So I came to see you. I hugged her tightly, sobbing. Don't leave again. Please don't go. She patted my back, comforting me for a long time. Finally, I calmed down. Are you Yin? I held her hand and asked seriously, will you be my girlfriend? She smiled brightly, nodding enthusiastically. Just as I was about to hug her again, she asked, but ... Her eyes sparkled. Is it something you can eat? I smiled and bit her ear gently.